And we're back with some more oxygen not included. And today, well, we're going to start with a little bit of a change. People were making a lot of suggestions. Hey, why not put supercoolant in here instead of water? And, well, that's going to take a long time to boil. But then there was a suggestion to put nuclear waste in here, which should take even longer to boil and would be more trouble. But it does have the advantage of being pretty cool. And also, I think it'd be sort of interesting to stick nuclear waste in here and have a green glowing box powering this whole facility. It's going to be painful to retrofit in, but I think we can do it. Plus, it'll look kind of awesome. Now, over here, all I've done is I've just expanded our nuclear waste, the stuff we were letting overflow into space because I'd gotten lazy. And instead, we're going to use a whole bunch of piping. Where is it? Yeah, we've got the piping started. We're going to power it off of this, and then we're going to pump all of that nuclear waste in here. Yeah, once we get all the water out. The water's just getting pumped out right now. That's going to take another few minutes. We're dumping that all back into the water tank. And instead, we're going to fill this place with nuclear waste for no apparent reason. So here comes the nuclear waste. We have it dropping all the way from this here, which is feeding back all the way along here to our little tank. And it's been actually powered by our solar panels and our sort of core modules up here. That's fine. What we want to do is, well, what I'd like to try here, it might actually help us a little bit, is put a layer of nuclear waste along all of these to help drain the heat out of them. This way we can turn these on earlier. Normally we'd have a layer of water down here, and that would keep those aquatuners cool while they're spinning up. But these ones, without anything around them and in a vacuum, if we turn them on, we'd literally melt them. So this should just about work. What are you up to, 151? At what point does this mutate in, or add on an extra tile? Come on. Okay, 26. The moment that goes over the edge, we then put in airflow tiles up there and, well, basically don't let it go any further. Almost there. Give us a few minutes. We got a little bit of a drip off the edge. We shut off the nuclear waste. We're then going to put an airflow tile there, repeat, and then fill the bottom up to probably just the bottom layer with nuclear waste, assuming we have enough of it. We're running a bit short on nuclear waste at the moment, so we'll finish this off in a bit. For now, we're going to do this section of it. This is where all of our sulfur and all of our methane is going to get condensed. So we need some conveyor loaders and stuff like that to move everything out of here. I'll put one of them in there. Throw in a couple auto sweepers. Oh, give me some steel wire here. There we go. Power the whole lot of it. And this here is going to be the conveyor loader that takes all of the sulfur. And this here is going to be the conveyor loader that takes all of the methane. And the thing is, the methane's just going to get shot out the side, and the sulfur is going to get sent up here. Now, the reason we're putting this up here is because of that its location, this auto sweeper can't reach it, but this one can. This way, we set this one to a higher priority, and this auto sweeper should just take up the sulfur and start dumping it in there. And this one should only have access to the methane one, so it'll only fill the methane one. Otherwise, you end up with this weird situation, whereas if you put both of these on level at the same, and both of them can access them, at one point they'll all start filling up the methane, or they'll all start filling up the sulfur, and then never change, because there's always constantly going to be more sulfur and methane added. So this way we just stop that bug from arising. Alright, that's looking more normal. Now, I think what we do here is we're going to need to get a blob of supercoolant in there. In fact, I think it's time we dumped in a lot of supercoolant into this system. We're going to put a layer of supercoolant right here, and to put that down, we are going to use a liquid meter valve. People have been screaming at me to use this for a while because it helps meter out how much you put in. So we want to put in a ton of supercoolant, and that's 500 kilos is the most it can do at first. That should go down here, go across there, and why is it stopped? I made it backwards. Never mind, we switched it around, and now it's going to count down 500 kilos. And then once the 500 kilos are counted down, we'll reset it one time, and then we should have enough supercoolant coming down here and acting as a conductive layer. And then while that's going on, we can finish that off. Nothing but thermium in here. Nothing but the best for our boiler. All for the glory of Aku, of course. And that's 1 ton of supercoolant put down as a nice conductive layer at the bottom to make sure all of that sour gas turns into methane. Now we can deconstruct all of this junk. While we put in the last layer of nuclear waste, that should be... Oh, yep, that's more than enough. That's going to take so long to boil. That is... Oh, I should not be doing this, but hopefully it'll look pretty cool when we're done. I'm imagining a nice green, healthy glow coming out of here. We've got to fill all of these loops, these cooling loops we've got in here, with supercoolant, which shouldn't be that big of a deal. We'll just run that stuff down here, and then what we can do is start bridging them on. Doesn't even have to be that good, so you can go there, you can go there, you can go there, and you can go there. Done. Now, I'm going to leave some supercoolant behind here. That's going to become a little bit more important later during the boot up process, but for now, I'm leaving that there on purpose. The rest of the supercoolant we're probably going to integrate into this cooling loop here that cools down this section of steam turbines. And once that's done, I think that's all of the supercoolant we require for this build. It's now time to just finish off this section down here. All we have to do is put in a couple of automatic mining drills. Reason for the mining drills is actually quite simple. If we don't put them in, during a save and reload, sometimes little pieces of methane will solidify here and form tiles. It's kind of annoying, so we put in some mining drills to stop that on boot up, or, well, loading screens. Oh, yes, there's also one other thing I want to do. I'm going to deconstruct that little blob of supercoolant there, and deconstructing that, we'll pour a little bit of supercoolant on that conveyor loader so that conveyor loader can have some liquid around it. The thing is, this might actually be below the sour gas cloud, which means it might actually not get any cooling at all. There we go. With that to act as a transfer medium between the conveyor loader and these tiles, that should sort it out. And even though we did remove one blob of supercoolant, we can just add another blob in from here. This will sort of be our supercoolant blob pool we can draw from to replace... you know what? Never mind. That doesn't matter so much right now. What does matter is now that that is finished, we can now seal that off. Then down here, we're going to have to put in the mining drills. Once the mining drills are in, we can start this up. In fact, we could probably start this up now, but I'd like to hold off until everything is finished and we can seal it. And then we can deconstruct all of that along there. A couple of mining drills. A few diamond temperature shift plates. All of the sulfur that we collect will go up here for at least a bit. On the temperature from it, we're going to drain out and dump into some temperature shift plates. It should help pre-chill anything coming in here, and it's just a good way to use some of the sulfur for something useful. It even sort of counterflows up here, dumping some of its chill off, hopefully. Done, finished, time to seal it off. I've put in the 2 bricks there, then we're going to sort of slowly force this water across, and once the water is across, we'll have this whole thing sealed off and ready to go, actually. Okay, done, 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 and done. I think we're just about ready to fire this up. Now, I should point out, we don't have any oil to put in it just yet. We do have the pipes put in and ready to go, but we're not actually ready to hook all that stuff up. Power-wise, what we can do is hook up this. Now, this hooks in through here, hooks all the way across. So this is going to fire up all of these transformers, which are going to start generating heat, which will be a problem, but we can deal with that in a second. This comes over here, and it hooks into all of these. Now, what we can do is, let's start this top one here. You start up. And what it's going to do is start cooling down this loop. And it's going to keep going until the temperature is minus 100, as in the temperature going through that supercoolant. But that has to cool down all of here, all the way down to the bottom. Now, one thing to note is it's sitting in a bunch of nuclear waste. That nuclear waste is super viscous, which is one of the reasons I want to try it. Well, that was cool. So it's going to have quite a bit of nuclear waste to heat up. If we were doing this the other way, where we just had water at the bottom, there wouldn't be nearly... We wouldn't even hold any water over there, like a few grams maybe. So this way we get lots of nuclear waste to keep these cool, and they might actually vaporize that stuff, though it'll take a while. That's just got to get up to, I think it's 500 degrees or something ridiculous. And great, come on, where is it? Nuclear waste. It's got to get up to 527 degrees before it vaporizes into a gas. That's a lot of temperature, but once it's up there, it has to go below, I think it's 69 degrees or something like that before it turns back into a liquid, so it's quite handy that way, and it's much more thermally conductive. It has a lot more specific heat capacity. This should be great once it's done. It's just getting there is going to be horrifyingly painful. Temperature-wise, yeah, that's already chilling everything down nicely. Alright, let's let that run for a bit. In the meantime, while this is starting to warm up... one thing we should probably do as well. Yeah, none of those are hooked up, but we do have the cables ready to go. That will start that aqua tuner. And if the supercoolant is below 20C, that thing will start cooling that down and make sure that this cooling loop is all set to 20C, which means all the stuff through here should just remain nice and cool, including those large transformers down there. Perfect. While that's going on, I want to pack back up the rockets and send everyone home for a brief vacation. I mean, they've been here for a while, and they're starting to run low on food. So we could fire over more food, but I sort of like to send them home, restock everything, like rip out all the beds and everything, rip out all the resources in here, and stock them back up with 20 tons of everything they need. The next step is going to be hooking up all of these oil reservoirs. We've got 5 of them on the map. There's 2, 3, there's 4, and 5. And we need to hook all of them into one grid. And we also need to put in a landing spot for all the water so that the water can be pumped into the oil wells. Yeah, we're It'll take a few minutes, but I'm going to let this start heating up in the background. I'll cut back in once the Rocketeers come back. Oh, before I send the Rocketeers or our build team away, there's one last thing I should point out, because this came up in the comments. I have vacuumed out these areas here, but it's not really necessary. The only place it's really necessary is right here. You notice there's a heavy watt joint plate here and here. That means this steam in here can't get any temperature out here. Because of the vacuum between these sections, just no escape. For the rest of these, we don't really need it. In fact, the oil down there is touching the liquid, or the oil down there is touching these joint plates, so that temperature is going to equalize out. We don't really mind. In fact, I could let gas back in there if I wanted to. It's just sort of for consistency's sake, we did them all the same way. It's the same over here, only this one actually has anything in it, and this one down here, you'll notice it's connected to the outside world, and it's getting chilled down just fine. We don't really care. It's just, it looks nicer this way when they all look the same way, as opposed to just having one that way. Another way we could have done this is this joint plate down here. We could have done an underneath joint plate and then run it in from the bottom, I suppose. But, this all worked out, much of a muchness. The entire team is back. We are fully stocked with more steel, plastic, ceramics, and all the bits and bobs we're going to need, though we probably won't need as much this time around. And down here, our nuclear waste is getting very close to flashpoint. We're up to 521 out of 526.9. This is going to turn into nuclear fallout, and I kind of want to see it. You know what, we'll postpone all the construction projects just for a minute and enjoy this. The reason these aquatuners haven't shut off either is because the supercoolant is passing through here. There is a tepidizer there, and that tepidizer is set to stay at about 247 C. Well, it is by this thermosensor, which is connected to these temperature shift plates, which through the radiant, or was it temperature shift plates made of diamond behind it, is making sure that this stays just hot enough that the supercoolant just keeps having to circulate around. And it will keep doing that until the temperature here hits 650 degrees. Once it hits 650 degrees in here, these can eventually shut off, and there we go. We're starting to get that first glorious nuclear fallout. Runs up here and immediately hits this nuclear waste and then sort of solidifies again. But that's okay. That's okay. This should quickly start flashing everything in here into nuclear fallout. Alright, I get it. This is going to take forever. It's going to heat up the nuclear waste to turn it into fallout. That fallout's then spreading its heat all the way up through here, so this nuclear waste up here has to be heated, and this nuclear waste here has to be heated, and this nuclear waste here has to be heated, and they're slowly sucking all the heat out of the soap. It's not actually flashing just yet. You can see here this nuclear waste has actually gone down in temperature. It'll take a while. This is one of the reasons I didn't want to use nuclear fallout or nuclear waste, but got to admit, it does look really pretty. In the meantime, we are going to wall in this entire section, put in some liquid locks, and then just turn this entire area into a vacuum. I just realized we've got to get the solid methane out of here. Methane. And whatever. Again, the methane's got to come out, so I figure we just turn this entire area into a vacuum, and then we don't have to worry about where we send it. We can just run it through on rails, and we don't have to worry about interacting with anything, or... No, there is nothing in here we want, is there? It is so shiny looking. I am really glad we went with the fallout route. Turns out you just tell me it looks cool, and I'll probably go for it seems. That looks amazing. It's far more impressive looking than steam. Don't get me wrong, the steam animation is good, but actually having nuclear fallout in the center of the build, yes, would do again. Alright, around the outside here we see we've got a liquid lock, sealed up all the way to space, and sealed up all the way to space, liquid lock. So now all we got to do is take the top off this, and a lot of the gases should just escape into the vacuum of space. Why not, I suppose? One downside to chopping the roof off this to let all the gas out. Radiation. Just lots and lots of radiation. So we're going to put up a layer of lead and a layer of plastic here. I think the weird thing about lead and plastic, they both stop the exact same amount of rads. So this will stop, I think it's 68, and plastic also stops 68. So someone want to build some plastic there? There we go. So plastic blocks 68% of rads, meaning we're getting, what, 58 rads on either side. This one blocks 68% of rads, meaning we're at 70. Oh, there's some gases and stuff interfering. But yeah, plastic, lead, doesn't make a difference. Same amount of blocking. Go with whichever one you prefer. Right now, we're just doing a bit of a clean. We're taking all this stuff out of here in case there's any polluted dirt. We've got rid of all of the, bleach stone. That's all gone. In fact, maybe put a couple of containers there, move all the polluted dirt in, and I think that's all the stuff that can off-gas. A little bit of cleaning never hurt anyone. Alright, once that's done, we need to start tapping into those oil reservoirs. We need all 5 of them running, and we're going to have to start delivering water from Dampona. That Shouldn't be too hard, hopefully. We've almost drained most of the gases out of here. That was actually relatively painless. But we still have other stuff to do. Namely, we have to start tapping into these oil reservoirs. I need to come up with a plan for how we're going to get all the oil out of there. I think we'll just make it out of lead. Now, let's see. We might want to do separate ones for each one, or maybe combine a few. Because the problem we face is these three over here are very spread out. There's one there, one there, one there. I think we'll just do little individual nodes for each one of them. It'll be a little bit messier, but why not? And finished. Not one of my best designs, but it should work fine. This is going to, well, we're going to have to put water into this. About 1 kilo of water per second. It'll spit out 3.333 kilos of oil per second, crude oil. The oil will collect down here and eventually fill up until it hits that, where is it? Yes, this pressure sensor. And if this goes above 1 kg, this will, if it goes below 1 kg, I want you to turn on. That means once the liquid gets up to there, it'll shut off, just in case we end up with too much liquid in there. Since we have 5 oil wells and we need 15 kilos, each one of these is going to provide 3 kilos, so we've got it flow limited over here. And that's pretty much how we're going to work it. Now, we still have to get in the water coming in from the water planet to actually feed this all, so I'll leave that till last, though. We need to have everything else set up, because if we need any supplies sent over, we don't want them getting contaminated with the water or the water mixing up. Mixing water and supercoolant would be a little bit embarrassing. So excuse me while I sort of replicate this 5 times. Oh, and there is a gas pump in there, because this thing's going to give off natural gas. It needs to be vented once every 4 days. Once I say, well, 3 to 4 cycles. And then when I think it's every 25% is worth a cycle. So yeah, we'll have to vent this. We'll have to leave a crew here to vent this long term. But with 5 of them, it should be an easy job. Now, give me a minute. There we go. Pretty much an exact replica. Though I did switch up the liquid pumps. I realized I should have the automation turning off the oil well when the time comes, not the actual liquid pump. Which reminds me I should copy over the settings there as well. And down here we're going to make the exact same build. This should just take a second. There we go. Another perfect little replica. That's 3 down and 2 to go. You know what? Let's do the... No, we'll do this one first. Choo! Oh. Well, okay, that's done. No complaints there. Next up, we just got to do this one. Now, hopefully, choo! Okay, well, that was much, much faster than having to go through all of that. That's set up. That's set up. That's every single last one of them. There's a little bit of sweeping left to be done there, but... yeah, I think we're fine to start doing the final stages. Now, for all the crude oil... all the crude oil is going to come out here, and it's going to get shifted up on these 2 pipes. These 2 pipes are going to feed into these 2 liquid tanks. We're just going to have 2 5-ton tanks, nothing too fancy. Then we'll have some liquid valves right there. We'll have them flow controlled, so that will allow us to flow control the whole situation. We're going to want to start this thing up slowly anyway. Then we're going to need water. The water is going to come down the opposite direction, so maybe stick the water on top, I suppose? I think we've got everything we need, so yeah, give me 1 second here while I clean out some of this piping mess. Yes, it all looks perfectly normal and sane. It'll be fine. It's just, you know, a little bit of piping, just a little bit. While this was going on, I realized I'd left a little chunk of igneous rock in here, so I think we'll just go back in and get it. The great thing is we've vacuumed out the entire outside of this thing, so we can just wander in and out as we see fit now. Maybe should have started that way, but we wouldn't have known how big it was going to be. We had to account for everything, but it's fine. It's fine. And now we just go down and sweep up this junk while we're here. Why not? Ooh, we'll need a ladder segment, won't we? Easy peasy. Did you see that? We decided to build a ladder segment out of igneous rock, and the auto sweeper conveniently picked it up for us. So, poof. Righto, we'll just go get someone to grab that from down there. In fact, if we use the conveyor system, we could probably just shunt that out. But no, I'll go get someone in to grab it. And we're almost finished on the waterfront as well. I'm thinking it's time to start firing the water over. Now, this is where things get interesting, because, well, we gotta see if this works. It should, in theory, work. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get all the water from the ocean planet, the one we basically stockpiled a lot of stuff on ages ago, and wow, is that thing still actually unpacking rad? You know what? It doesn't matter. You guys, change target. We're going to have you target this, and you are going to target this. I've already done this, haven't I? We're going to switch the automation. Open fire. 2 shots. Seriously? Come on, guys. And then the water starts flowing in. Now, I've flow controlled this to 6 kilos, so we shouldn't start flooding the system too badly. But yeah, we're going to be sending over more water than we need. Now, some of you are probably wondering, what happens when we start to run out of water? Yeah, we'll worry about that when the time comes. Plus, there's 2 water vents on this planet. I really do have to check these out. I haven't actually calculated the average output on these. But even if these 2 don't produce the necessary 5 kilos of water per second we're going to need, we do have a whole bunch of excess water on our home planet that, well, it keeps filling up these tanks here. And are these full? Actually, not quite. We'll start the process, though. So we're definitely going to have plenty of water to send back to Dampona when the time comes. How are you guys looking? Oh, I'm sending along way too many rads, aren't I? Seriously? You're the worst. You fire 2, stop. Fire 1, stop again. Now when you've got, like, enough... Once you finish this, you should have enough to fire 5. Well, yeah, you'll have enough water to fire 5, but you won't have enough rad bolts. And... Timing. Anyway, without any major shell firing, Dampona has caught up. It's now processing about 6 kilos of water per second. It should handily provide all of the water needs to run our oil wells. It's the first step on our interplanetary conquest? Whatever you want to call it. In fact, let's have a quick check on the star map. Yeah, due to some graphical thing, these take forever. Like, you see the way they're moving so fast? They're already where they're supposed to be, it's just the graphics haven't caught up with it. And they're going to pass the other shells traveling the opposite direction carrying the nuclear waste. Okay, come on, how many? No, they're not quite there yet. Damn, oh yeah, they're moving at speed though. 50 seconds? Excellent, then we'll get our first batches of water. Once the water hits, yeah, there we go. It will get auto-moved by the auto-sweeper. Yeah, I know, a lot of redundant autos there. That should start unloading it auto-magically. Yeah, it's all water. Wow, how's that water 60? Suppose it's been hanging around a lot of nuclear waste. Might be a little bit warm. Alright, then, that goes down here. Goes through 15 tons of liquid storage. Then through another 20 tons of liquid storage. Hey, we want to make sure we have a lot of spare water here. Then it comes out the other side, and it goes down here. The best way to think of this water is going to come down here and all the way to this end. So it's basically going to form a sort of a line the whole way around. And then as it goes by, we have these overflows built in. So once it gets all the way to the end, it'll start backfilling everything along the way. Let's speed it up a bit. There. As it gets to the end, it starts going into that oil well. That oil well starts pumping oil. Then it backfills up to here, so it gets sent down to this oil well. Then that oil well will start spewing oil. Then it'll backfill into this oil well, then that oil well, then that oil well. And finally, then we'll have all 5 of them pumping. And let's see. Yep, there you're going. A little bit of backfill. Done. Okay, then. Now let's get a little bit of oil. Once we get enough oil prepped, we can start the system. While we're waiting for our oil reserves to top up a little bit, I thought we'd try something out. It used to be when you vented these, the natural gas used to heat up the oil well, and then the oil well would get so hot it would cause the water inside it to boil sometimes. So we're just going to see what happens when we vent this. Does it cause the water inside, or the water inside to heat up excessively? Well, that's very slow. And let's have a quick check here. Yep, not really helpful at all. Never mind, go faster. 69? 70... Alright, not so bad. I don't think it really matters anymore. It used to be you had to make sure that you keep the oil well insulated so that it wouldn't get too hot, otherwise the natural gas would cause it to overheat. But we made this out of lead, which kind of has terrible thermal conductivity. We'll see. But I think we're good. We don't have to worry about steam popping off in any of these. Alright, we'll let those catch up though. I want to get at least the bottom layer of them covered in oil before we start pumping and before we activate the sour gas freezer. I think we've got enough of a backlog here we can start turning these on. So you can go on, you can go on, you can go on, and you... God, this is going to be stupid as all hell. Alright, each one of them is flow controlled to 3 kilos. So we've got 3 kilos coming in from here, 3 kilos coming in from here, so that should give us 6 kilos by the, on that line. And I'm going to max out about 7.5. This one is splitting out evenly between the 2 of them, meaning all up, this should end up as about 7.5 kilos. So we're up to 6, and once the rest of that stuff catches up, you'll give it a minute. Well, that's close enough. It's 6 and 9. So, you know, add them together, divide them by 2. Perfect. All right. And then we've got 3 kilos coming from over here, 3 kilos coming from over there, and we should have 6 and 9 going through there as well. Nice. Time to start. I think it's time that we made a coup. Well, as you can see, he has not been impressed with our progress so far, but I think it's time we actually changed all of that. First things first, we're going to set this flow control here. We're going to start off with just 500 grams. 500 grams should be fine in both of those. Okay, then we're going to hook those up. Oh, wait. These things can't be done remotely. It actually requires duplicate intervention. Changed and changed. Okay, and that is ceramic. You know what? Fine by me. So 500 grams should come down here. It hits this hydrosensor. This hydrosensor is going to detect when there's more than 1 kilo. When it does, it'll engage that door. That door will draw heat from over here. There's going to be at least 650 degrees of heat in this section, probably 700 later on. And that will cause that to flash the sour gas, which will get pushed right back up here, go past that coup, and come down here to get frozen. And while it's passing back down here, it's going to pass these steam turbines, which are going to suck out the heat. Let's make sure I've sealed everything off. Sealed. Yeah, I think we're... Oh, I should probably turn this on. That would be an idea. All right, we'll hook that up. That will start cooling down this section. This is to provide cooling for all of these steam turbines. All right, we're flowing. Whoa. How much is down there? Okay. Might want to go a bit faster. I messed this up. Your temperature placement of thermium. Why is there so much oil going in? No. 1 kilo per second. Ah, there we go. It's caught up. Is the door going to disengage? Is the door going to disengage? No, door's not going to disengage. That could be problematic. Come on. Ah, there we go. Okay, it sucked across enough heat. It just needed to dump enough heat into the temperature shift plates. It needed to just stabilize a little bit. And these things have kicked in again because the temperature has dipped below 650. Alright, so the sour gas comes back up here. It's getting bead pumped. So the liquid comes down here, and as it flows down, it forces the gases back up. Don't ask. It's oxygen not included magic. Anyway, that sour gas comes back up and flows past Aku. We'll get back to that. And as it does, it gets cooled down because of these steam turbines. And then it gets down to here where, well, we make it rain. It is now raining sort of methane and sulfur. The methane for now we're just shunting out here, and the sulfur gets sent up to this section. Where is it? Yeah, it gets counterflowed up here and dumped off into this blob of 200 kilos of supercoolant. Or 100 kilos? Oh my god, I used 100 kilos. Never mind. And some of that temperature gets shifted out here to help pre-chill all of that sour gas that's coming down. And I think we're good. Alright, let's let this run for a bit at half a kilo, make sure it's stable, and then we're going to crank up the pressure. You know what? This is taking too long. Time to go a little bit faster. Give me a kilo apiece. And here comes our duplicates now. Alright, pressure's changed. No, wait, only one of them is. Hey, anyone else want to get back here? Oh, yeah, we got a kilo. Done. Still chugging away. These aquatuners haven't even kicked in. They don't need to because they won't kick in below until they go to minus 100, and it won't for a while. This thing is so thermally conductive that all of the freeze from down here is getting transferred up, and it's just, yeah, everything that comes down here, it doesn't even get past that point. Look at it. It's like a giant full stop. You're not making it. I think, yeah, I'm just going to crank it up to 2 kilos apiece. I'm sure I'm going to mess this up and push it too far at some point, but for now, I'm okay with that. Power-wise, I should keep an eye on the power. If the power starts to dip, I should be careful. We are running, well, several oil wells, and when this thing is starting up, it tends to draw a lot more power than when it's running at full. When it's running at full capacity, they should only draw about 2.4 kilowatts of power. Well, it'll draw 2.4 kilowatts of power while also generating a whole bunch of power here to help counteract it, so in total, it will draw 2.4. After you subtract all of the extra power it'll be generating itself. However, getting there, it might burn through like 12 kilowatts. Which, you know, that might be a problem considering our nuclear reactor only does about 8.4. Okay, but I think it's doing well. Yeah, we'll give that a half a cycle and then we'll crank it up some more. Taking too long, getting bored. Let's push it forward. Get Give me 3 kilos. Go for it. We'll have to wait until someone comes along and changes the pressure, but that's fine. I've put it on a pretty high priority. 6 kilos of oil per second. Still not even a bother. Our extremely glowy nuclear fallout powered sour gas freezer is working out perfectly. We'll give it a quarter of a cycle and crank it up to 8 kilos per second. Ooh, we had it there for a second. We had a blob of methane just appearing magically in midair and staying stationary. The conversion process is taking a little bit more depth. Are we looking? Yeah, the temperature there's gone down. All right, you know what? Let's hit it up another notch. I think this system can handle it. It's pretty beefy. Yeah, we're going to 4. We're going to 4. Ooh. It's getting hot enough up here that it started to actually cause all the water in here to turn to steam. We've got a gate activation. Nothing we really care about. You know what? We can use the barbecue back home. We can combine that with fish and make ourselves some surf and turf or something like that. But where were we? Yes, we were at 4 kilos. I think 5, actually 5.5 kilos. I think we can jump a little bit further now. Okay, with 5.5 kilos apiece, that will put us at 11 kilos per second. My impatience always gets the better of me. Okay, we'll crank one of them up to 7.5 kilos. Let's just go for it. 15 kilos. Give me 15 kilos of oil pressure. Come on. Someone. It's level 9. I got tired of waiting, so I made them emergency priorities. That should sort them out pretty quick. Come on. That's one done. Anyone want to get the second one? Done. 7.5 kilos per second. Let's run for a bit to make sure that it's nice and stable. And what should happen is these steam turbines at the top, aqua tuners, and oh my god, there's a piece of granite in there. God damn it. Well, that's not good. Its melting point is 668 C. Ooh. That could be a problem because it's going to go up to about 900 degrees in here. You know what? This is interesting. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it won't be anything too horrifying. Oh god. It probably will be something horrifying. Did that thing just melt and come back? You know what? Doesn't matter. It's fine. Let's give it a little bit of time for the pressures to equalize out. Those two steam turbines should be working pretty much flat out from now on. These ones will work out intermittently. This one will come on a little bit, and all of these should be pretty much maxed out by the time this is done. We're going to be generating way too much heat here. Oh, and we're down to this section. Okay, sour gas has finally made some inroads on our cooling block. But it has no chance against our fallout. If you check in here, this is actually activating enough. Normally we have to actually force this to stay on to give us 650 C. But now these are activating enough that they're getting close to the 700 degree mark. Once that happens, it's getting too hot in here, and this door will start engaging and dumping the excess heat. These 8 turbines, they're just here to deal with the excess heat this is going to spit out. Which hopefully should be pretty soon, because what's our batteries at? No, batteries are fine. Power's holding stable. I think we're good. Never mind. The granite that was in there, it melted, but then immediately solidified into igneous rock. Okay, that's one way to turn granite into igneous rock if you really want to. Just heat it up in one of these rooms. It'll turn into magma and then immediately, instantaneously just turn right back into igneous rock. I mean, I can't see a reason why you'd want to do it, but if the need ever arises. For now, all the sour gas is coming past Aku here. He seems much happier now. He seems far more pleased. But there's a weird thing going on here with monuments. The top half is classified as glass, which has terrible thermal conductivity and specific heat capacity. The middle sections are classified as ceramic, which, well, yeah, terrible thermal conductivity and specific heat capacity. But the bottom part, or the tail, that's considered steel. So this is 10 tons of steel with a thermal conductivity of 54. It also takes up this entire area, meaning this sour gas here is 125, this sour gas here is 123. So I got about a 1 to 2 degree difference between the top and bottom half of the tail, no matter what way you cut it. Because it's just sharing temperature. All the sour gas has to go past this point. Every single tile in here, every single tile in there is effectively the same tile. Therefore, or is sharing space with this monument, which all shares heat with these temperature shift plates, which all gets dumped into this. So, well, that was the theory. We put them right there. Now, I'm not saying this is a good idea. We could get by with just having a 3-tile wide corridor, but then Aku wouldn't be there, which was completely unacceptable, as you can understand. So that's how we ended up with Aku positioned right there. It seems to not hinder and not help either. It's just a good all-round compromise. As this whole thing continues to spin up, because we're not even at full stability yet, we're going to notice that these things here, if you check their uptime, it's hit 95%. At some points it usually caps out about 96 or something like that. You'll notice here, it should be on 100% of the time. However, you'll notice there's a gap. There's a gap there, and I think there's one more gap. Well, there's at least one. So, what we want to do is we want to dump on another blob of supercoolant. And I'll explain to you why this happens, or why you end up with these gaps. And this is why we left these little blobs of supercoolant there, so we could put on the little blobs we need. If you check on these aquatuners, you'll notice that no content. There. Every so often you see a flash of supercoolant show up. So what normally happens is when you're running these, or when you have these switched off, the supercoolant will just fill up all the piping. However, when you stop them, sometimes they'll keep a blob of supercoolant inside them, and then you'll see a little gap on the pipes. So what normally happens is you end up with this little gap, and now we've filled it. Normally there'll be two, because we've got two, since we've got two of these. Now, it's never a good idea to keep these loops full. You want to leave that gap, because otherwise these can jam. If you fill the whole loop and you fill both the aquatuners, then it will, if you try and shut it off, it can never turn back on again. However, we're in a very unique position here. These two aquatuners on top and the two aquatuners below it, they're probably never going to turn off. Because of their location and how close they are to the sour gas, they're going to be doing, like, they'll be on just 100% of the time. So putting that in, you can see they've had 100% uptime this cycle so far because there's no gaps anymore. In fact, what just happened there? Oh, never mind, I took that off. And we'll probably end up in a bit having to do the same down here. This is also going to max out, but we want to make sure until they're actually in full use. Oh, second gap. Remember I mentioned there was going to be a second one? Well, there it is. So we will grab another one of these, and we'll bridge that one on there. That will bridge the second gap, and now this should go from under that 98% to 100%. We are up and running at full capacity. If we check here, this is at 100% uptime, 100% uptime last cycle. And this one's 100% uptime and 100% uptime last cycle. This one is 95. We could probably, we could probably squeeze in an extra blob of supercoolant or two on there, but I don't like to. And these last ones are at about 50 to 60. I think they'll max out about 63% once this thing fully stabilizes. But you'll notice our temperature is now constantly above 700 degrees. In fact, some parts up here are over 800. It should max out about 900 tops in any of the corners, because we're close enough to this section here that we can dump the heat in. This whole thing was designed so that we could suck out all the heat here, and all the excess heat gets burned in these steam turbines. This just keeps the whole thing from overheating. If we don't drain that heat out somehow, well, bad things will happen. It's just the way we're cooling. We are doing the dumbest cooling. This is just brute force cooling. We're not doing any counterflow. We want this methane to be solid. And, okay. This is where we come into the next stage of our plan. You see, this was all so we could get solid methane. And the reason we're going to go with solid methane is this is going to give us about 9.5 or 10 kilos of solid methane per second, and there's 11 planets. So if we check here on the star map, we've got the oil planet, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the plan is this. We need to put down a small colony on here, about, say, 2, 3 duplicants. Their job would be to maintain the place and, vent the oil wells. That's all they got to do. Once they hit max pressure, someone's got to come along and relieve the pressure, which means we need a permanent colony here now to take care of this. It can't be automated. We need a little colony. That's why I was doing a call out for any base designs working on 1 kilo of methane per second. This one won't. We'll probably run this off the steam vent, but every single other planet is going to have a purpose. For example, Dampona here. We're going to make a small colony. Probably 2 duplicants. Their job... Wow. Batteries are pretty low. Oh, yeah, solar. Their job will be to, say, make sure that this water geyser is vented out and... Oh, sorry, not vented out. Make sure that this doesn't get submerged, and we're going to take this salt water here, desalinate it, and we're going to build a desalinator. They're probably going to operate that. We could boil it either. There's options, but we'll leave a small colony here. Probably about 2 duplicants should be enough for this colony. But then there's, say, Contralia here. This whole place, which is now full of an awful lot of morbs. Every time I restart this, an extra morb spawns out of that outhouse. But this year, what I'd like to do is fire over all the sulfur. Like, we're making a lot of sulfur here. And what we can do is we can grab that sulfur out of this section through that corner. We can just deconstruct that tile and use an auto sweeper to sweep it out. Then what we do is we'd send it all over here, and we would make a giant farm. Just a massive farm colony that runs on sulfur and makes lots and lots of these spindle grub fruit plants. In fact, there's a sulfur vent up here somewhere. We'll probably tap into that as well. And we'd have a colony here of maybe 5, could be even as high as 8 duplicants running on 1 kilo of natural gas per second that we'd be firing over. They would make just absolutely unbelievable quantities of food. And all of that food would be fired over to Postulino. And Postulino here would have a small colony, probably about 2 duplicants, and their job would be feed the tree, take the resin, and fire the resin back to... Damn it, what was the next planet? Oh, our industrial planet, which would be Ikiani. Ikiani has a cobalt volcano, gold volcano, copper volcano, iron volcano, which means it would be great for an industrial planet because of all of the available metals it's got. So we would take this one and turn it into an industrial colony that would have, all for metal refinement, everything like that. It would probably require about 8 duplicants, and they would all be running on 1 kilo of methane per second. In fact, every colony, 1 kilo of methane per second, and then we'd run anywhere between 2, 8, maybe even 12 duplicants depending on the size of the colony. That would mean we're going to have to slowly start phasing people out of here. All the existing duplicants are going to get reassigned new jobs out on the colonies. And then eventually we'll just be left with a bunch of small colonies, all fed, watered, everything off the methane, and all of their excess resources, everything they produce, will all get centralized or sent to where it needs to be processed in some way, shape, or form. And this here will be the beating heart. This will be what provides all of the methane. And the reason they have to survive only on the methane, because this will provide their oxygen, this will provide their food, this will provide everything, even their filtration medium, everything has to come through the methane. You can't use anything else. I probably should have specified that more clearly first time around, because all of it has touched Aku. Every single piece of that sour gas has come past Aku, and all of this has touched Aku in one way, shape, or form, which means everything people will be eating, breathing, sleeping, everything will have passed through Aku at one point or another. Why? Well, because we can. Now, I do have a few ideas on base designs I'd like to try out, but I don't want to just come up with a base design idea, stamp it down, and then just do replicas on each single planet. I'm sure a few people out there might have some ideas of their own of how to make the smaller colonies or the bigger ones, or maybe a variety of them. Just remember, the only thing you're allowed is that methane at the start, and it's going to come in at about, not 196, 1 second. The methane comes out on average at about minus 194 C. It'll be a little bit wonky at the start as it's spinning up. But if you want to know exactly how cold the methane is going to be, because you could theoretically use the incoming chilled methane to cool down your base and do all your cooling needs, just tossing some ideas out there. Oh, actually, yeah, one of them, where is it? There's the iron colony. The one that's got just absolutely oodles of iron on it. This one, Calderon? Yeah, this one has 4 iron volcanoes. I think for this one, we're just going to have a small colony, and their only job will be to, manage these volcanoes as they fire lots and lots and lots of iron back to our industrial planet. There's just such a ridiculous amount of iron here. It's insane. Yes, we also need to make a small colony here, but this one here will not run on methane. The only reason it won't run on methane is because it'd be too hard to land this stuff accurately all the time. Actually, I wonder, no, because the problem will be every time there's a meteor shower, we'd have to close their bunker doors, and it wouldn't work. We'd have to make, this will be like an independent colony, and this will be a horrifyingly independent colony. But that's all for a later date. I'm already way over time again. But if you have any suggestions or any designs you'd like to try out for the methane one, you can send them to me. The email is in the About section of the channel. I know it says business email, but it's not like I'm good at the businessy stuff, so just send it to the email, it'll be fine. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck.